Welcome to the Morning Nerdy News. I'm your host, Brandon, aka The Gray Falcon. I'm here to go ahead and start getting into this, and we want to start off with Cyberpunk Modding support tools. So if you haven't heard, Cyberpunk had been planning to add in modding to their game system so you can go in, get official supported tools, and be able to start making alterations. So if you've ever been a modder, you've been a fan of the whole Fallout series and being able to go in and make changes and officially release those changes to be able to drop them in the game, now's your chance. So this is interesting, I think, overall, because it's giving us as a community the ability to go out and improve the game outside of actually requiring CD Projekt Red to go and do it themselves. I think that's awesome. I think that this is going to help push this game long term. So even though it's had snafus, had problems, I think opening it up to the mod community and getting these tools out there is really going to make a huge difference for the longevity of this game. So while we may not have everything the way we want in it just yet, they did put out their big patch the other day that helped resolve a lot of issues. If you've downloaded that and you're using it, make sure you drop a comment. Let me know how that's running for you. I'd like to hear if you're over on PlayStation 4 or maybe on an Xbox One, if that is making a difference for you. Even if it's on the newer consoles, how much of a difference that makes for you. Over on PC, I know it's still running pretty well. I haven't had a lot of issues. I've had some bugs in the past, but overall, still running smooth and enjoying that game over there. But I really want to know what it's like for console players right now with this. And speaking of consoles, we're going to go ahead and talk about PS5 scalpers used a loophole to buy stock before it was live in the UK, and this is coming to us from IGN Africa. And apparently in the UK, one of the big sites for retailer release of this product had loopholes where these scalping groups had access to information a day ahead of time on when these were going to be released, and were actually able to purchase them before they went live to normal consumers because they had access to this loophole and could start running their programs to try and purchase stock ahead of time. And then before they could shut it down, stop them from getting these systems, they had already made the purchases, were able to go and pick up those items and leave with them, so they didn't actually have to worry about them having their orders canceled. So this is a big problem over there with this. Hopefully we don't see something like this continue in the US or other parts of the world. And really this just means that these people really need to get on top of their websites. Best Buy, all these locations, Target, Walmart, they really need to make sure that their websites are up to snuff to prevent this type of thing from happening. Maybe it's not a problem here and most of these locations will not have this type of loophole that they can get through, but if it can happen once, it can happen to other locations. So hopefully we're going to see these types of things get resolved. But other than that, there's not really a whole lot of new PlayStation news, and really, it's not looking good for being able to get systems. Right now, we have a financial report that came out for Xbox, and they're kind of confirming that while they have had super, super high sales of the Series X, the Series S, they've sold more on Xbox than ever before, netting about $5 billion in revenue, which is about a third of their total revenue information. It's about a 33% total increase year over year in financials for Microsoft as a whole. Part of this is all driven by the gaming sector, where they earned a ton of money just from third-party games alone for the money that they get a cut off the top for every one of those being sold. Plus, they're making a killing on Game Pass. So overall, Microsoft says they're doing great. They've had their best ever sales of a new system, but unfortunately there is still going to be shortages for the foreseeable future, they're saying. So if you haven't got your next gen console at this point, unfortunately, it doesn't look like things with that are going to get any better. But they did finally get their first release of a actual first party game. So the Medium is coming out. It's available, and we have the reviews though, and the reviews range everywhere from GameSpot giving a 9, saying that the puzzles are engaging, they love the challenge in it, that they find the game genuinely terrifying and has top-notch sound and design, with the bad being the habit for over-narration in situations can get annoying. Well, we jump over to IGN, and they drop that review a little bit more. So IGN saying, we're giving this an 8. Brilliantly paced, and say it's tense. They talk about it being a psychological horror adventure that's a thrill and no filler, which is kind of weird that they say no filler, because as we get into some more reviews of this, we have from EndGadget, the Xbox exclusive is just okay. The Medium is a fitting name for the latest game by Bloober Team, though perhaps in an unintended way. Not only does the Medium tell a story about a woman with the ability to exist in dual realities and commune with the dead, but it turns out the title serves as an accurate review of the game itself. When someone asks whether it's a dazzling horror experience or a middling excuse for a next-gen Xbox exclusive, the answer is right there. Meh. It's Medium. So, not a glowing review from EndGadget, and I don't know. This is something that if you have Game Pass, at least you can go and play it for free. Perhaps you'll have the high end. Perhaps you'll see the low end on this. But as our reviews continue, we head over to Kotaku, and they say that the Medium is stuck between two types of video games. It seems like a throwback to classic claustrophobic horror titles such as Silent Hill and Resident Evil, but it also feels like a more modern, non-combat narrative focused scary game. The end result is a game that feels middle of the road. This is disappointing because it contains some great ideas and has strong second half, but too much of the game buries these bright spots under stretches of boredom. And these are just small little parts of it. I do recommend that you go and read the full reviews to get their entire opinion of it, but I just wanted to come in here and cover all of these partial bits to give an overall feel for what the industry is thinking. And we're going to go over to Polygon for our last review here. And here's what they're saying. Eventually, the Medium abandons its surprising, empathetic take on the afterlife altogether to become a thriller, which, while honoring in its on a single thread, ends up being shallow and disappointing. The twists aren't predictable, but aren't shocking either. And while the latter half of the game sets itself up as an interactable web of interconnected relationships and secrets, it teases out hidden identities and other twists for way longer than it took for me to figure them out, leaving me waiting for the story to catch up. By the time I rolled credits and began processing what had just happened, I realized I didn't have many plot points or sticking moments to chew on. So again, another one of these where it's very middling. These reviewers who don't put up scores. So we're looking at EndGadget's review, Kotaku's review, and then of course Polygon's review, where they don't have a score system for this. They find the game just to be a meh game, not a great experience. However, they say there are high moments from all these reviews, and you can go and enjoy those high moments when they happen, but they're just too far between these low points and these points that drag out. It's not scary enough. So go check out these different reviews in full. follow the person that you like best, see what they're saying about it, and maybe this will be a game for you, or maybe this is just one of those games that if you have Game Pass, you try it out. If it's not for you, you can drop it half an hour in, maybe a couple hours in if it turns out to have a really great start, but then a slow into the middle. And at least you didn't have to invest anything extra into it for that. So I would recommend that if you have Game Pass, maybe try it for yourself so you have your own opinion on it as well. I will be trying to download this and get it up and running later today, but it might be tomorrow that I'm actually able to get this up and playing. We'll find out. I haven't downloaded it yet. It was a game that I've kind of been on the idea of maybe I want to try it just because it is the first exclusive, but it's not really the type of game that I typically play. Not a first-person shooter. It's not an RPG. And when it comes to horror, I'm not typically the best person to try and do a horror thing on because I don't jump scare. I don't really have those moments where I'm like, oh, it happened. It's just not something that I typically have happen to me. So if it's really that mediocre, it probably isn't going to have much of an effect or enjoyment for me to play, but we could always experience that together. So we'll see if we can get that up and rolling later today or tomorrow. But that's going to be it. Thanks for hanging out. Remember, if you haven't already, make sure you click the follow button here on Twitch. If you're watching this over on YouTube, it's the same thing, Gray Falcon, GRAY_Falcon. And if you're watching this over on Twitter, or if you just want to hang out with me when I'm offline, I'm the Gray Falcon over there. Make sure you follow me on that and get the latest updates as well. Until next time, have a good one.